Very good evening to all of you. I welcome you all to the ICAN initiative, the Hindu and Indian Express analysis. We will start the day with the prelims theme of the day. So today we'll be taking up another subject, which is modern Indian history. So what you have to find out today is which are all the important committees that were set up on education and what their recommendations were. So right from the Macaulay's committee, then Wood's dispatch, Hunter Sargent committee, all of that you will have to mention, and then what their recommendations were. And the second thing is you'll also have to write about the organizations that were created for the welfare of the deprived sections of the society during the colonial rule. Some of them were created by B.R. Ambedkar, by Gandhiji and many others. So which organization was created by whom, this clarity is very important. So make a list of these organizations and who created them. So similarly, make a list of the committees on education chronological wise and also what their recommendations were. So in prelims, they usually ask this match the following questions or which of the matches are correct. So in which case you will have to clearly know who created or who started a particular organization, especially when the names are little bit confusing. So and also they might ask the chronology that the following organizations or the following committees on education were which of the following order is the correct one. So you will have to know that chronology also. So do write this, and also this has a utility in mains as well. So you may have a question like how did the education transform under the British colonial rule, so compared to the previous system of education in India, and what foundation did it lay for the modern educational system. So in such case you will have to take the help of these committees and what changes they brought about under the British colonial rule. So all of these can be used for your mains exam. You can have expect a direct question on them. So do take this seriously, and as many of you as possible do write in the comment section. Now we will start with the topics of the day. So we will start with the first topic of the day, which is on wildlife protection. So this is about, yesterday it was a National Tiger Day. So this is about the tiger conservation in India. So a survey was done in which two important observations have been made. The first important observation is that nearly 1/3 of all the tigers in India are actually outside of the tiger reserves. So one most important reason why 1/3 of the tigers are outside the tiger reserves is because nearly 17 out of the 50 tiger reserves in the country, they are already approaching their peak population capacity which they can sustain. So 17 of the 50 tiger reserves already are already approaching that maximum number of tiger population that they can actually sustain. So because of these, the tigers in these regions are migrating towards the areas which are outside of the protected reserve. So that is why 1/3 of the tigers are outside the tiger reserve areas. So this shows that the tigers, these 1/3 of the tigers which are outside the reserve areas, they are more vulnerable to attacks by the poachers or being killed in road accidents and all that. So therefore we need to adopt a more and wider landscape based approach rather than just an approach that is based on the protection given to the protected areas. And also because 17 out of the 50 tiger reserves are already approaching their peak capacity, because we have 2,900 odd tigers in the country. So for this many tigers we need to have more number of areas which are protected as tiger reserves. So this is another important observation. So let's just revise the basics quickly. This revision will also help you in prelims. So Project Tiger was launched in 1973, and the National Tiger Conservation Authority is the body which is administering this Project Tiger. Then recently India has also adopted this CATS framework. So CATS framework is Conservation Assured Tiger Standards Framework. So this framework is about assessing the various interventions that are being done to protect the tigers, to conserve the tigers. So an assessment of these whatever measures or whatever interventions have been taken up to protect the tigers, that is assessed. So this is a globally recognized framework for assessing such interventions. So CATS is Conservation Assured Tiger Standards. So then we'll have a look at the causes for the death of the tigers, which is one being poaching, then electrocution, then the prey base has reduced in several of the tiger reserves, so there is lack of food for the tigers. Also several road and railway line projects they pass through the tiger reserves, so they are also they succumb because due to the roadkill, and they also die because of the natural causes, that is when the tigers get aged also. So these are the various causes for the deaths of the tigers in India. Next we will have a look at the important steps taken. So why is it important to at least have a basic glimpse about the steps taken is when if a question comes on tiger conservation or protection, and you have to write some of the steps that have been taken by the government. Most of the times the most easily remembered thing is a project tiger. Apart from that, we hardly remember any other points for tiger conservation, but several steps have been taken, so it's important to have an eye on each of these so that you can remember it in the at the right time. So first, as we all know, is a Project Tiger, which was launched in 1973. Next is the CATS, which we have just discussed, which is Conservation Assured Tiger Standards for assessing the interventions for tiger protection. Next is the M-Stripes. M-Stripes is a mobile app for monitoring the tiger movement in the tiger reserves. So this M-Stripes is there. So this was also used in the 2018 tiger census, where the M-Stripes app was used to store whatever information about the counting of tigers was collected. So that was used to be stored in the M-Stripes app. So recently this tiger census of 2018 has been conducted. This happens once in 4 years, that we should know. And also international cooperation also is there for tiger protection. So we have been cooperating with the neighboring countries of Bhutan, Nepal and even Bangladesh, and we are counting the tigers of the region, which is not just in India but also in the subcontinent region. So this international cooperation is also there. These are some of the important steps that have been taken for tiger conservation. Now we'll move on to the topic, which is the migrant crisis. So yes, and the first topic, the tiger conservation, comes under your GS3 syllabus, which is environment and wildlife protection. The migrant crisis can come under the GS1 syllabus also, which talks about the society and the nature of the Indian society. It can also come under GS2 regarding the policies which have been directed towards the migrants, and also they form a chunk of vulnerable sections of the society. So it can also come in your GS paper 2. So when we say migrants, there are mainly two types, external and internal. So internal migrants and what all kind of issues they face, we have already seen that multiple times. But we also have external migrants, that is those people who go from India to other countries for work and or other reasons. So the most important region from where we have these two, where our migrants migrate externally, is the Gulf region. So the West Asia region is the most important region where we have lakhs of our migrants who are working there. So we will talk about these external migrants. Even before, we have already seen how the nationalization policies in these Gulf countries, in Saudi Arabia and all, because of which the Indians who are working there have been terminated from their jobs, and so therefore they are now returning back to India. Also, even when they were working there, they had very difficult working conditions, and they have been exploited for they have made to work for long hours a day with very less pay. So these are some of the issues that these migrants have been facing in their working in this the Gulf countries. So in this regard, because of these nationalization drives that are happening in various countries, for example Nitakat in Saudi Arabia, so these migrants are coming back to India. So when they are coming back to India, India as a country is facing the challenge of 3 R's. That is, how do you rehabilitate these migrants who are returning? Then how are they to be reintegrated in the society? And also how to resettle them in the society. So these rehabilitation, reintegration and resettling of these migrants who are returning from the Gulf countries back to India is become a cause of concern, and it's a challenge that is posing India. So many of these migrants are returning back recently because of the COVID crisis there, where they are unable to have access to good public health facilities. So, and also they have lost their jobs because of the slump in the economic activity due to COVID. they have returned back to India. So in which case the challenge that is being faced is rehabilitation, reintegration and resettlement of these migrants in the Indian society. For this, government has taken one step which is called as a Swades. Swades also we had discussed in one of our previous classes. So this is about the skill mapping of these migrants who are returning from abroad. So when their skills are mapped, then whenever jobs which require these kind of skills become available, then those jobs will be given to them. So this is an exercise of skill mapping of those people who are coming from, those migrants who are returning from abroad, so that jobs can be given to them. Then Dream Kerala is another project which is undertaken by the government of Kerala. So Kerala has been one of the largest beneficiaries of the remittances that it received from the various other countries, particularly the Gulf countries. So now several of these migrants are returning back to Kerala. So Dream Kerala is another project where again it is a plan to utilize the various skills of these migrants who are returning for the development of the state. So this is a project by the Kerala government. So these are the important steps that have been taken. So in this, what should be the way forward? First is we must have a comprehensive migration management system. So this is lacking as of now. In fact, if you look at the entire South Asia, apart from Sri Lanka, no other country seems to have a strategy for handling of these migrants who are returning. So we need to have a comprehensive migration management system in the first place. So this is the need of the hour. And also the second thing is the South Asia Gulf Migration Corridor. So this is the hotspot where the migration happens the most for, that is mostly the work related or the job related migration. So this South Asia Gulf Migration Corridor must also become a part of it must also be included under the ambit of the SAARC conventions, the International Labour Organization conventions and the UN conventions. So when this corridor becomes a part of these conventions, then it will also ensure the working conditions and the living conditions of the migrants in this corridor is also safeguarded. So these migrants in this corridor must be subject to the ILO and UN conventions. So this is the second important step that needs to be done. So now we'll move on to this topic, which is related to India-UK relations. So this is obviously a part of your GS2 syllabus, which talks about the international relations. So in this whole article, we will just be looking at the relations in the environmental sphere between India and UK. So that is in the sphere of sustainable development or green growth, how India and UK are cooperating with each other. That is what we'll be looking at in this article. First is both India and UK have what is called as a Green Growth Equity Fund. So both UK and India have contributed to this Green Growth Equity Fund, and the contribution has now come to about 240 million euros. So this fund is used for development in that is for various green growth projects. So this Green Growth Equity Fund is also a fund which has been set up for mutual contribution from both the countries. The second step that is being taken, is being looked at is a vaccine development. So in this case now the Oxford vaccine trials are already happening, and there are also talks about collaboration between the Oxford and also India's Serum Institute. So they can collaborate and cooperate in this case to come out with a vaccine and a safe vaccine for the COVID-19. The third area of cooperation is a renewable energy. So India is a leader in the solar energy, while UK is a leader in the wind energy. And also UK is it has a plan to phase out the coal used in UK in the next 5 years. So in the next 5 years, UK plans to completely phase out its usage of coal. So from this, there is also a green recovery package which has been announced in UK. This package is of 3 billion euro. And this amount is going to be invested in order to create green jobs and also to upgrade the buildings and all that. So this green recovery package package of 3 billion euros has been announced. So these are the areas where India and UK can further cooperate in the realm of green growth and sustainable development. Next is the carbon emission or the climate change. So in this case, UK can also cooperate with the Indian Railways in ensuring or in helping the Indian Railways to become net zero carbon emitter by the year 2030. So this way the amount of carbon emission can be reduced, and thereby the climate change issue can be also tackled. So UK can cooperate with the Indian Railways to help it become the net zero carbon emitter by 2030. The last issue is the funding. So in as far as funding is concerned, we have what is called as a Newton Bhabha fund. So in this Newton Bhabha fund also, whatever fund is dedicated to this, that is being used for various research in green technologies like solar energy or the new generation of buildings. So all of that research projects, this Newton Bhabha fund is being used. So this is another area where India and UK can collaborate on green growth and sustainable development. So whenever you are writing relations between the two countries, we have discussed this even before, that it is better to categorize the relations as strategic, economic, political, people to people and cultural, and science and technology, and similarly environment and sustainable development, and also on relations with respect to or on the other international or bilateral fora, other multilateral or international fora. So that is how the relations are between two countries in the United Nations or in WTO, or if it is a regional fora like SAARC. So this is another dimension. So you have to segregate and categorize your answer into these various dimensions. So when you're talking about the India-UK relations in the environmental sphere, all these initiatives you can make a mention of. So these are very specific initiatives, rather than just writing that we can collaborate on solar energy and wind energy, which is a very generic answer. So here you have gotten specific content like Newton Bhabha fund or the Green Growth Equity Fund, then collaboration on the solar and wind energy, and apart from that research that is being done, and UK collaborating with Indian Railways to ensure that we can Indian Railways can become net zero carbon emitter by 2030. So these are very specific points which will fetch you better marks. Now we'll go to next topic, which is India-Mauritius relations. So this was a small news that the Supreme Court building has been built in Mauritius, in the capital Port Louis. So this building is now being inaugurated, and even the Indian Prime Minister is going to be virtually be a part of this inauguration. So this Supreme Court building has been built in the capital city of Port Louis. So why this is important? Because this project has been built with India's assistance. In fact, this building is the first India assisted infrastructure project to have taken place in Port Louis, and this forms part of India's special economic package. So in the year 2016, this special economic package was announced by India for providing economic benefits to the island nation of Mauritius, where nearly 350 million US dollars money was announced that will be given by Indian government to Mauritius under the special economic package. So it is through this special economic package that the Supreme Court building has been now constructed. So therefore this shows the India's role in the investment in Mauritius. So particularly given that China is also increasing its bonding and closeness with Mauritius, it is very important that India has extended this special economic package, and through that now a Supreme Court building has been built and is getting inaugurated. So this shows that India-Mauritius relations are also stronger and friendly. Now we move on to the next topic, which is related to India, US, China, Russia relations. Basically, this whole article was trying to talk about the RIC cooperation, that is Russia, India, China cooperations. So it is saying that the RIC cooperation, these three countries came together, they had some common agenda or common interests, but however, because of the diverse policies of these three countries, they kind of diverged in the middle, and they are still diverging, but then there is still a relevance for them in the future, and what can be done to align and bring back this RIC collaboration in the future. So this was the whole structure of the article, and this again is part of your GS2 syllabus. So what it says is, in the 2000s, the entire world was going through a transition. So in the till the 1990s, it was a bipolar world, and it was the era of Cold War. But in the 1990s, after the disintegration of the USSR, so the 2000s, the world was facing a transition from a bipolar to a multipolar world. So in this transition, because of this transition, these three countries had come together. These three countries had somewhat like a non-West agenda, but non-West agenda does not mean anti-West agenda. Non-West agenda means that these countries had some notions, or they believed in some principles which may not have been believed by the West. For example, these three countries believed in the ideas of sovereignty and territorial integrity, and also they were against the forced regime change in the countries by the outside countries. So how the way United States was interfering in the Iraq and all that to ensure that there is a regime change. So this, they were against this. So they believed in principles of sovereignty, territorial integrity, and they were also against the forced regime changes in various countries by a third country. And they also believed in democratization of various international institutions. So these were the common agendas which made these three countries to come together and start their cooperation. But however, what happened with India was that India started to increase its relationships with the United States. So with Russia and China, India increased its defense partnership. So Russia has been our largest defense partner in the past, and even Russia is very rich in its natural resources. So the natural gas, oil, petroleum cooperation between India and Russia has also been immense. At the same time, with China, we had an agreement in 2003 regarding the boundary issue and how we need to go about it. So all of these was going on the one hand, but however, India started expanding its relations with the United States on the other. So trade and investment pacts were signed, so the trade and investment began to increase. We also had the landmark civil nuclear deal signed with the United States. Again, we started to increase our defense cooperation with the United States. Before this, we had near 100% dependence on Russia for our defense imports. So we had it in our agenda to diversify the defense imports, and because of which we started to have friendly relations with the United States and expand defense relations with US. So, however, both Russia and China saw this as that India is getting closer to United States. So, Russia and China, and on the one hand, and Russia on the other hand, India on the other hand, they started their interest started diverging. For Russia, it meant that Russia was being isolated by the United States after particularly the Russia's annexation of Crimea. So United States was imposing sanctions on Russia, so it was trying to isolate Russia internationally. But on the other hand, Russia saw that India was getting more closer to United States. So therefore, Russia-India relations got affected. The same is true with China-India relations as well. India-US relations started to get more stronger and friendlier, and India's presence in the Indian Ocean region and United States as an ally in the Indian Ocean region, they started disturbing China. So China saw that India was actually trying to collaborate with United States and contain China in the Indian Ocean region. So in order to counter this, China started to act against India, against the Indian interest. For instance, it started the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor and the Belt and Road Initiative. It started to be more friendly with the Indian neighboring countries through its string of pearls policy, where it started development of several ports in the neighboring countries. So all of these things China started to do when it saw that India-US relations are growing, and that may be directed towards containing China in the Indian Ocean region. So therefore, what started off as an RIC, a cooperation among these three countries, it started to diverge when India started increasing cooperation with the United States, and United States started showing more enmity or with both Russia and China. So this way, the RIC as a cooperative unit, it started to disintegrate, and they were diverging. They had diverging interests. So in this regard, what should be done to bring the RIC back together? So this is what I explained just now, that Russia also, because the United States had put sanctions, Russia had to embrace China after Crimea war. Russia was facing international sanctions, so Russia had no other option but it embraced China. Similarly, China and India, when they were trying to have friendly relations, but India became more closer with US, so China started CPEC. It started increasing its footprint in the Indian Ocean region, and also it started penetrating more in India's neighborhood. So these were the important. So in this regard, what is a way forward? One way forward is that the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, that has to be revived again, and we need to strengthen our cooperation with Russia and China as being a part of the SCO, because SCO is one such organization where we have Russia also and where we have China also, and we also have Pakistan here. So through this forum, India can capitalize and it can lead this forum, and it can also cooperate with Russia and China. Apart from this, till now in the SCO, there has been a duopoly of Russia and China, who have been the strongest players, apart from the Central Asian republics, which are also a part of SCO. So India can play a major role in this, and it can also provide a leadership to SCO, which is apart from this duopoly of Russia and China. So the Central Asian countries will also like it, because they have always been seeing the duopoly of Russia and China. So if a third country is coming up and it is trying to take the leadership, even the Central Asian republics will also like that. So through this SCO as a forum, also India can bring back its relations with Russia and China. And also Russia has been very apprehensive of the India's policies. For instance, Indian policy in the Indian Ocean. So Russia had started to see that this is because India is trying to align with the United States to contain Russia and China. So this was the perception of Russia. So this can be changed by reviving the Chennai-Vladivostok Maritime Corridor. So when we revive this corridor, it will show to Russia that we are not against the Russian interest, but we are just safeguarding our interest in the Indian Ocean region, and that has got nothing to do with Russian interests in the region. So by giving that confidence, we can further increase Russia and India relations. So that is all. This whole article was on the RIC cooperation. So next, these were the other articles which were not important. This is about the GST collections, which have shrunk because of the COVID, and the center's compensation to the states have also been delayed. This topic we have already covered previously, so I'm not taking this up again. Next, this article was talking about the fact that now many countries and many institutes are rushing for the development of vaccine and the drugs for COVID. So the regulators will have a tough job, but it does not have any specific content. So this again has no specific content. Then this is China and how that can be, how China can be countered with the air power. So again, no specific. Then again, governor's role in Rajasthan, which we have already discussed. This was also again on Rajasthan, which we have discussed. This again was on the GST compensation, which is done. Then rural recovery didn't have any specific content, nor did these two articles have any specific content. So now we will see today's prelims current affairs question. So what is Petersburg Dialogue? So this dialogue is associated with world trade, or B, is it associated with the economy of developing countries? C, climate change action. D, health emergency. So with which of these four is Petersburg Dialogue associated? This is what you have to be telling. And yesterday I had given DigiPivot, so which many of you have written really wonderful answers what DigiPivot is. It is a skilling program for women, for those who are looking to come back after their career breaks in the for jobs. So this was launched by Google, and so what most importantly, of course, you know what DigiPivot is if it comes in as a prelims question. But if you're also talking about a question where let's say the question is low labor force participation of women, so in which one of the reason is going to be marriage and career breaks and lack of skill on part of the woman. So in all of these answers as well, you can use it as a way forward that these kinds of initiatives have been launched, which can help the women to reskill and then come back and join the labor force. So this will also help them to enhance their skills. So in such mains answers also, you can use these value addition of these particular schemes like DigiPivot. So that will also add a lot of value to your answer, rather than just writing that we need to reskill, we need to do that in this. So if you make use of these schemes also, that such and such schemes have been launched, so that is actually a step in the right direction. So all of these will also add value to your mains answer. So whatever we are reading for the prelims, it will have a relevance in mains also. So figure that out and keep it ready now itself, so that after prelims the only thing that you have to do is just start your revision. So that's it for today. Thank you.